but I'll basically start from the beginning. Can you see what you should see now is just one slide that has the 8 life areas. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, that's what you're supposed to see. So I have the uncanny knack of taking on multiple life stressors simultaneously. Some life stressors I cause and some just happen. The ones that just happen are the ones where the universe is challenging me to find a better life path. I must recognize those and be grateful. The life stressors I cause often occur because I live my life by always doing the right thing when nobody's watching. I call this trait integrity. I'm not a fan of the status quo. I fight for the underdog, and we've always done it this way is never a right answer for me. Some people or organizations don't like free
The
thinking.
cleaning lady's here today. Is it okay if she goes into your room and cleans? It's up to you, sweetie. I don't care. It doesn't matter.
Jenny,
Jenny, you
you're
gotta
on
mute.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so let me see where I was. Some people or organizations don't like free thinkers or questioners. They frown on curiosity, push back. They push back on innovation, and creativity is not an option. Do as I say and nobody will get hurt. With these self-created life stressors, I must expect unintended consequences and live and learn from them, and I have. In addition to having integrity, it's crucial to find the balance between being empathic and being strong. It doesn't have to be an either or choice. I strive to find that the middle ground between being nice and being firm. It's unhealthy when I find myself off balance on the far end of either. If I'm too soft and nice, I'm walked all over. And if I'm too firm or assertive, I hit the constraints of any system I'm operating in. So what you're seeing here, the 8 life areas, I like to call them the 8 life domains, and I'm sure there are more. But what I tend to see is, when life's going great, you have them all in white there. And when things begin to go off kilter, they'll turn yellow. And when the you-know-what hits the fan, they turn red. So with all this said, I lived a normal adolescent life. I don't recall upsetting the apple cart too much, where I had to endure multiple life stressors at the same time, perhaps because research shows that more than 50% of our belief system is formed by the age of 7. I just did what my parents told me to do. By the age of 18, or around our junior year in high school, more than 90% of our belief system is formed. Formed by who and what we're surrounded by in a short 18 years. I noticed my mind shifting during my junior year in high school, yes, at the age of 18. A shift from not questioning my subconscious belief system to questioning everything. I noticed that my conscious belief system was not aligned with my unconscious belief system, and I had to do something about it. An interesting side note for you to do with what you wish, the male frontal lobe, or the prefrontal cortex that controls judgment and decision-making for males, does not mature until the age of 25 to 27. Therefore, men are kind of built to make stupid mistakes at a young age. Not fair. So I recall 2 defining moments for me in college. One, I initially majored in pre-med. I wanted to be a doctor. When I switched my major to psychology sophomore year, my father was concerned. Dad, I said, I want to help people in a different way. And Dad says, you can help people in a different way and still make money. And that was his response. Why did I choose psychology over medicine? I stuck to what my gut told me. It was right for me. This was the first time I recall making a major decision for me. Truth be told, I really didn't want to study that much. I often chose drinking at the bar with my roommates instead of studying in the hallway with the biology majors on Thursday nights. Also, physics was not too kind to me. And the second defining moment I recall during a lunch with my favorite psychology professor, he said, what do you want to do after you leave here, Drew? What do you like? I told him what I liked, and he suggested healthcare administration. So in my first healthcare administration job, I worked in the purchasing department and in the operating room, 3 years in one, 3 years in the other. And I certainly found myself off balance on the far end of being too firm or assertive. And boy, did I hit the constraints of the system. My father always asked me, why do you always have to buck the system? So with me entering the workforce and still being who I am and being in an environment that kind of frowned upon free thinkers, I found 2 of the 8 life areas, domains turn yellow and 1 turn red. And, there were three defining moments during my 6 years with the hospital. One, I had to learn the needs of doctors and nurses so I could buy the highest quality products for the lowest possible price and help patients heal and save the hospital money. Doctors would ask me, why are you asking me this? Are you questioning my practice pattern? No, I'm curious. I want to learn the procedure so I can have an articulate conversation with the sales rep so I don't buy the bells and whistles that aren't necessary in helping the patients, I would say. I rocked the boat by doing the right thing. I could have just bought the items on the list and had everybody like me. Second defining moment, met my future wife and we got engaged to be married. Third is I suffered from professional burnout and I thought an external change away from the hospital would be the solution. And there'll be a pattern here where I turn to external environment to make a change, thinking it's going to help me rather than looking from within. So my next job was at a large national pharmaceutical company and I was a sales rep, and that brought on different challenges. As you can see, more challenges than the hospital did. And you can see what started happening to my life areas there. So, there were 5 defining moments during my 1 year at this big pharmaceutical company. Number one, the rules changed there and my default reaction was anger, frustration, and hurt. I hated the job. Number two, not where I thought my career should be at this point, and I enrolled in the company's employee assistance program, and I was put on anti-anxiety medication. Number three, my wife lived in the home we purchased together while we were engaged, and I lived at my parents' because you can't live with somebody before you're married. Fourth defining moment, we got married, and the fifth defining moment is at this job. I had 2 bosses with different management styles who worked part-time to make them collectively a full-time employee. I couldn't take the environment anymore, so once again, I thought an external change would be the solution. And so I decided to go and work for a startup broadband wireless telecom firm. I was the operations coordinator, and with those responsibilities brought different challenges. And as you can see, some of the colors shifted. There were 3 defining moments surrounding my 1 year in telecom. I was terminated because the market was saturated. This time the company thought it was an external change would be the best solution for me. The second thing, I'm out of work and now my wife is pregnant with our first child and we had a mortgage to pay. And then the third is on September 11th, 2001, we all know what happened. So with those changes, I decided to go back to the hospital to go back to my comfort zone. And I was the materials manager for a same-day surgery center for 5 years and a data analyst and patient satisfaction specialist for strategic planning and business development for 5 years. So a 10-year career, and things were great in the first 5+ years. 3 defining moments. Our first child was born, our son, Matthew. The second was our second child was born, our son, Nicholas. In between, though, those 2 kids being born, I had my first ever panic attack at work when my wife was pregnant with my second child. I was now put on a sleeping pill, and additional anti-anxiety meds, and anti-depression meds. Isn't our healthcare system beautiful? So with all that, I moved to a different department, and there were 6 defining moments in the second 5 years at the hospital. First one was great. Our third child was born, our daughter, Emma. The second defining moment was our son, Matthew. Finally, we found the diagnosis of autism. And for Nicholas, we found the diagnosis of Crohn's disease. So other things that we had to deal with, not just our marriage. The third defining moment in 2007, I had a back disability, herniated discs in my back, and I had to give up playing sports. And it was tough even to coach my kids in baseball. Fourth defining moment, I found myself reporting to a horrible boss. I'm sure you've seen that before, guys. The fifth defining moment was kind of good for me because my boss's boss, who I loved, left for a great opportunity at a large, famous healthcare system in Manhattan. And the sixth defining moment is, I didn't know this now, but I learned much later during this time that my wife felt like I emotionally abandoned her. I did notice she was acting differently, but I was too wrapped up in myself, what was going on through work, to notice. Yet again, I thought an external change would be the solution. So I left that hospital, and my former boss's boss recruited me out to Manhattan. And I was the patient experience specialist there for 5 years. I can never live an easy 5 years. So but the first 3+ years were great. No defining moments. Everything was beautiful. Even though I was the same person and did the same things, everything was beautiful. The last 2.5 years of that hospital, I guess I was growing out of my comfort zone. Number one, I had a bad car accident. And after that car accident, let me see how much I have. 2 minutes left. Okay, so I'll get through this. Bad car accident, and for reasons only my wife knows, she questioned the cause. Number two, my wife left me and we were separated in 2015 and went through mediation to protect the kids. Number three, I learned my wife felt I physically abandoned her and I went to work in Manhattan, and then I tore my ACL and my meniscus coaching my kids in baseball. I had surgery. And the fifth and defining moment, I was terminated due to behavioral issues because I'm a questioner, and I'll get into that some other presentation. So I found myself going to a hospital in New York State where there were 0 defining moments during my first year at the hospital, as you can see the colors, and 6 defining moments the final 7 months. 7 months and the 2 months following. I had a 9-month stretch of 4 major life stressors building content for my book about overcoming adversity. Number one, my divorce was final in April of 2018. Number two, the best day of my recent life was my 50th birthday. I threw myself a birthday party on October 6th of 2018. Third defining moment, terminated by my hospital 2 weeks after I reported a HIPAA violation. 7 weeks later, the person who violated that HIPAA rule was promoted to my old position. And number four, my son had suicidal ideations on 10 days later after I was let go from that job. I spent 40 days with him, just him, making sure he was safe. He went to a residential home on December 8th to help himself. And during that time, my dad, who got unexpectedly sick and passed away. So as you can see, all these kind of things happen and you got to try to handle them. I ended up buying a franchise by accident. Didn't really want to, but I knew I wanted to run my own company. I let external circumstances kind of dictate my life. The one defining moment was getting a cold call and buying that franchise. Then I went into an independent affiliate with a biotech firm, had to get back to my healthcare roots. And then, tell you the truth, the biggest defining moment is I just sold my clients for my franchise. I'm going into helping men overcome adversity. So I'm currently the chief resilience officer for Profit Compassion, and I want to get into something really quickly. These are all the places I worked because I really focused on external solutions to try to solve my problems. But I now know that people pleasing has held me back. I learned that I justified using external changes to improve my situation. I now realize I need to change internally my mindset and attitude and behavior if I want true change. I can be both empathic and strong. I don't have to choose one or the other, which I did my entire life. We can be empathic without being a pushover. We can be strong without being a jerk. Don't be too soft and nice, or else you'll be walked all over, and don't be too firm or assertive, or you'll hit the constraints of any system you're operating in. And so that's the end of the presentation. I'll stop sharing my screen. But I do want to say, with all that stuff, I don't know if I went through more than other people have in 53 years, but truth is, I finally found I already knew who I was really as a person, and now I'm actually going to be who I really am. And so now I have a men supporting men support group. I'm curating a community for men who either have overcome adversity and want to share how they did it, or men who are going through hell right now and they need a support system for people to help them out. I also have a few other services that totally support that cause. And I'm done. And any questions? Open book. I'm an open book. So, Scott.
I don't have any questions. I just want to give you high fives and kudos because as men, we're taught to suck it up, to be strong, to be stoic. And even though I was fortunate, my dad, when I was a kid, I cut my knee really bad and I didn't want to cry. And he said, only a man can cry. I still suffered from it. And the fact that you're sharing all of this and, it's inspiring. I want to tell you publicly that I will do whatever I can to support your effort because we all have a story. We all have a story. And we've all faced things that seem totally insurmountable. And you learn that you either crumble or you just stay committed because win, lose, or draw, there is always a way. So thank you, Drew. Thank you.
You're welcome, Scott.